Good morning. I'm Janet Collins. I'm Amanda's aunt, Richard's sister, one of the Dotsons. On behalf of the family, I would like to thank everyone for being here today. Your presence and support is appreciated and much needed. We're here to talk about Amanda. She may have seemed weak, but she was strong in the ways that mattered. She was strong in her faith, marriage, motherhood, relationships, passion, and integrity, and in her own identity. Being her aunt, I've known Amanda since she was born. From the little girl on Rose Lane that ended up on Dellinger Drive. Tyler, when you guys were young, she referred to you as her little brother. But as you both grew up, she'd say that you were her big brother now, since you grew up to be a lot taller than she was. She said, I can't push him around anymore. He can beat me up now. Richard and Robin, mom, dad, you raised a fine daughter. You were her biggest supporters. She knew you loved her, and she loved you. She told me so. Always thinking about others. November, just 2 months ago, she created a Amazon wish list for my mother who's experiencing cognitive decline and called around looking for services to help her in her home. And in that conversation, I said, well, did you find some services for yourself? And she said, I don't need any, I'm good. And I said, well, they might be able to help you. She said, no, I'm good. I've got everything I need. I've got Andy. I've got everything I need. She was a creative and had a lot of initiative. Creative is generally used as an adjective, but with her it was a noun. This is a lot of what Amanda and I talked about. She taught herself calligraphy, and she and I have been in the process of teaching ourselves Spanish for years. Hola. She liked to write poems, and I was always amazed at her talent for the ones that I was fortunate enough to read. She liked to scrapbook. Years ago, she proposed an idea for us to be pen pals, but with a twist. We'd pick a time period and a character and write back and forth in that voice. Although we had many conversations, we never really got that idea off the ground. However, we were surprised when we saw that someone else had taken that idea and created a business. Ever heard of the flower letters? For those of you who may not know, it's a subscription service where you receive copies of letters between correspondents within a specified time period. And in a year of reading their writings, you are fully immersed in their words and their worlds and their story. We should have done it. Amanda also loved to read. Many of our conversations were about books, what she was reading or what I was reading. She was way ahead of me, though. When I would find a new book that I liked or was reading and mentioned it to her, she would have already read it and any other books that went along with it. Sometimes adding how many years it had been since she had read the book. In other words, she was way ahead of me. I'll never catch up. Amanda always loved babies. She was drawn to them. I had a baby tender love and a baby alive, but Amanda had the ones that looked real. She had the reborns, the Lee Middletons, formed to scale in size and weight. They looked like real babies, and you'd have to look close to realize they weren't. She was so proud to be a mother. She held that title very proudly. She would always tell me about things, about what was going on with Emily and Jonathan. She was very proud of both of you. Most recently, she told me of you, Emily, your job at the doctor's office, and Jonathan, your love for music and musical instruments. And along came the grandchildren. She was over the moon with them. I asked her what she had picked out for the grandkids to call her, and she just said it didn't matter to her as long as she was able to be with them and love on them. In September of 22, she messaged and asked if I wanted to scrapbook with her at a mutual friend's house, adding that she knew I was super busy, but we make time for the things that are important. So I went and picked her up, and off we went. We got there, spread out on our own tables, and began digging out the pictures. She showed me so many cute pictures of Emily and Jonathan, and we laughed and talked about what all was going on when the pictures were taken. We had a great time that I'll always cherish. We didn't get any scrapbooking done, though, not one page, but we had a good time. That was something else we shared. Amanda loved to have a good time. She would laugh and cut up with anyone that wanted to. I can hear her saying, "Some people don't want to laugh and have a good time, but I'm down with those who do." She was very proud of the date nights that she and Andy had. She would tell me what they had done or where they were planning to go. I could always hear the joy in her voice. She told me about them meeting up with friends at the bowling alley. She told me about you guys, Andy and her, going geocaching, whatever that is. As it has already been said, to know her was to love her.
I'm sure you all know us. Jonathan, Emily, daughter and son. I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who came yesterday, today, who were watching live on stream, and those of you who couldn't be here but sent their prayers and are here in spirit. We are greatly appreciative of you all being here for Mom and sending these prayers. We just have something we want to share with you all, and just a little something for Mom. Today we gather to honor Mom, a beautiful, vibrant, and endlessly strong woman whose life was a testament to courage, faith, and love. Mom was many things: a devoted wife, a loving mom, a cherished daughter, a sister, an auntie, a friend, and a proud grandmother. She filled each of these roles with grace and warmth that made everyone around her feel valued and deeply loved. From the very beginning, Mom lived her life defying the expectations. She was told that she wouldn't live to see 40 because of her lupus diagnosis, but she surpassed it. She was told she shouldn't have children, and yet she became a mother, and in time a grandmother, creating a family that became her greatest joy. She was told her illness would limit her, but she lived fully, boldly, and on her own terms. Her strength was quiet but unshakable, and her resilience inspired all who knew her. But above everything else, Mom's life was anchored in her love for the Lord. Her faith was steady, genuine, and deeply rooted. She trusted God through every struggle, every victory, every unexpected turn. Her devotion shaped the way she loved, the way she forgave, the way she preserved. It guided her through the hardest moments and made her gratitude and the good ones even brighter. Her relationship with God was not just something she spoke about, it was something she lived. Mom's beauty was both seen and felt, and it shone through her kindness, her wisdom, and her strength, and the way she cared so fiercely for her family. And she never walked her journey alone. Her husband stood by her side through every season, caring for her with unwavering devotion. Their love was a partnership grounded in faith, loyalty, and deep tenderness. Though our hearts are heavy, we hold close the incredible legacy Mom leaves behind. A legacy of resilience, of love, and of faith that never faltered. She showed us what it means to trust God wholeheartedly. Even in uncertainty, she showed us how to keep going, how to love deeply, and how to live with purpose. Today we remember her strength. We remember her laughter, We remember her faith, and we remember the way she showed all of us what it means to walk with the Lord. Her story continues with us, her children, and her grandchildren, and every life she touched. And while we grieve, we also give thanks for the years we were blessed to have her, and for the memories she gifted us, and for the love she leaves behind. May she rest in eternal peace and wrapped in the arms of the God she loved so dearly. Thank you all.
Good morning. I'm going to apologize. My voice is giving out on me a little bit this morning. I talked too much last night with everybody, and it was fantastic seeing everyone, but I tend to be a little long-winded, which you're about to find out. I really want to thank everybody that was here last night and is here today. Many of you traveled internationally and drove for many hours to be here, and your love and support is something that we will be eternally grateful for. I met many new faces last night, but for those who don't know me, I'm Amanda's brother-in-law, Matthew. Amanda's nickname for me was Brian Griffin. Now, at first, I mistakenly was offended because I was confusing my characters, and I thought she was calling me Chris Griffin. But after realizing my mistake, I came to appreciate and take the Brian reference as a compliment. Much like Brian, I tend to use larger words and longer sentences than necessary for a conversation, and I still have that novel that I plan to write one day, but I never seem to get around to it. I've known Amanda since she was 16, and considering that she just turned 43 in November, I can say I've known her for a really long time. I've watched her grow from a girl to a grandmother. Thank you, Amanda and Emily, for making me feel old. Amanda was very religious, and discussing the Bible was an important part of her adult life. So I've drawn my inspiration for my words today from Scripture. But before I get too pious, I just want to start by sharing a couple of specific memories of Amanda that stand out to me. One of my earliest is a weekend that Andy, Amanda, and I went up to Helen, Georgia. We spent the day together, and Andy was so proud to show off Amanda, and the happiness was just pouring off of both of them. We joked, we laughed, and that stands out to me specifically because while I can remember many times that Amanda snickered or chuckled or giggled over the years, I just don't remember laughter as carefree and unburdened as it was back then. That day, I found and bought a statue from an artist that signs as Penna in a shop called Windstone Creations. The statue is a sitting wolf that has angel wings on its back, and there's a slot right behind the head where you can either put a tea candle or sunlight can pass through, and it makes its eyes shine blue. That statue has spent 30 years living on my nightstand and will forever tie me to that day. Another memory of Amanda is that I was the only person present at their wedding. And I know many people in this room were a part of the planning and supporting of their ceremony, but due to circumstances at the time, they ended up canceling the event and eloping. I am forever honored that both chose me to be their witness and confidant for that day. I am sure I took the absolute worst pictures, which is why I am not a photographer, so I hope I didn't let you guys down too badly. My final memory to share is Easter a few years back when my mother and I went all out decorating the house. We bought fresh flowers for the tables. We spent the day baking our infamous bunny butt cake. And we were making all sorts of treats like chocolate bird's nests that had Reese's eggs in them and other themed goodies. So we knew that Amanda was not feeling well. And at the last minute, she canceled on us. But Mom and I decided that we were going to finish decorating anyway, and we put out all the food, we set the table for everybody, and we took photos and sent them to Amanda, wishing her a happy Easter and a get well soon. An hour later, she was at the door with the family and ready to eat. Her being there made that day much more special. I knew early on about Amanda's diagnosis, though none of us, not even her doctors, really understood what it meant and what it would come to mean for her and her life. I certainly didn't know what lupus was back then, though the crash course helped prepare me for the TV show House. I don't think Amanda liked Cameron very much. If you know, you know. When trying to think back on memories to share, unfortunately, it's incredibly difficult to separate her life from the disease because so much of it defined her, her life, and the lives of those around her. We even refer to periods in our lives as before the coma and after the coma. Situations like Amanda's are a good catalyst for a crisis of faith, and I know many people today here have been through that. This weekend, I decided to do some research, and I asked the experts, why? Why do some people face harder challenges than others? Why are some born rich while others poor? Why are some frail while others are strong or talented? What does God, through Scripture, have to say about this subject? I felt I would not be alone in this room with these feelings, and I wanted to bring something, anything, to help make sense of things. I'm going to start with a familiar answer. Psalm 139:6. Our earthly knowledge is limited, but God's knowledge is perfect and boundless. Okay, so the internet's first answer to me is that God has a plan, but it's not for us to understand it. That sounds profound and all, but it's not comforting. This comes off like a Jedi mind trick. You know, God works in mysterious ways. Or it's like your parents saying, because I said so. We're just supposed to accept it 100%, no argument. Fine, but that doesn't curb my frustration or my pain. So I kept digging. The experts then turned me to Paul, and he speaks about treasures in jars of clay. 2 Corinthians 4:7-12, Paul says, for God, who said, let the light shine out of the darkness, made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but we are not driven to despair. We are persecuted, but not forsaken. We are struck down, but not destroyed. Always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifest in our bodies. For we who live are as always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that the life Jesus also may be manifested in our mortal flesh. So death is at work in us, but life in you. So Paul is saying that just like jars of clay in ancient times, our bodies come in all shapes and sizes. We are designed for a specific purpose. Our bodies are beautiful, they're functional, and yet they're breakable. In it, God places his greatest treasure, which he defines as the light of the gospel and displays the glory of Christ and the light of the knowledge of the glory of God. But why would God choose to put something so valuable in me? Why does he use a fragile earthen jar to carry his greatest treasure? So Paul explains that God sent Christ to us to place that light to live in our hearts. And if our hearts were perfect and unbreakable or impenetrable vessels, how would we ever even know it was there? Is it possible that it is in the most flawed of us all, when each of us are at our worst or most fragile, that God's light is most visible through the cracks that form in our jars of clay? It seems inconceivable that God would choose to use us to carry the spectacular, brilliant, blinding treasure of the gospel without a plan. He's entrusted it to our weak and broken jars because it is through those cracks and holes that his light shines through. Paul continues with, we are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. Well, here he's suggesting that God never puts more on us than we can handle. And these moments in our lives are the ones that teach us humility, patience, compassion, empathy, respect, appreciation. It's also an opportunity for the people around us to practice mercy, kindness, and selflessness. He tests us, giving us opportunities to prove our faith and live the gospel and to learn and grow from it. John tackles this same problem in John 9. Here, Jesus is chatting with the disciples, and he's explaining a subject that's first covered in Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man and death through sin, so now death was passed on to all men because all sinned. Jesus is saying that illness and death exist because we're sinners, and those are the tools that God uses to punish sin. So John says, hold up. You're telling me, what about the sweet old blind man down the street? Are you telling me that his blindness that he's had since birth is because of some future sin he's going to commit or some past sin of his parents? What sins have they committed? Jesus says, John, no, this is not because of their sin. This is happening to him so that the works of God could be displayed through him. So in this passage, we hear Jesus explain that while some illness is effectively karma paying us a visit, that in some cases, God needs a platform to show his work. The afflicted might not even be the target of the lesson of the faith. Sometimes illness is used to turn people to God in times of dire need to deepen their faith. That illness is a tool to shape and mold the faith of those with it or around it. Every single person who knew Andy and spoke to me last night at the wake commented that they never knew anyone who could sacrifice their life the way that he has to be, the type of caregiver that he is, and that they knew that they themselves could never be that strong. I also heard repeatedly that Amanda was an unparalleled fighter and that she crammed so much life into the limited opportunities she was given, and they are inspired by her example in the face of adversity. So in reflection, I can see what Paul and John are speaking of. I'm still left with an imperfect answer, but my personal takeaway from all this is that whatever God's plan was for Amanda, which is not intended for my human knowledge, served a purpose. And whatever that purpose was, whether it was for this life or the next, whether it's for us or our children, and whether that purpose was to shape Amanda or Andy or shape the people around her that were impacted by her life, the fact that her struggle was as prominent, demanding, incessant, suggests that that purpose was a grand one. When we consider the jars of clay reference and that our cracks allow God's light to shine through, I am now inspired by this photo that was selected for today. Amanda shining with the blinding light of the gospel through the cracks in her fragile vessel. There are many people here today that in their grief are reluctant to come up and take the microphone. Whether they have a favorite memory or story to share or just parting words they have for Amanda, they are struggling with the strength to find their voice today. Do not beat yourself up over this. If I too make it through everything I have to say without breaking, this is going to be a small miracle of its own. But in light of that, I have an unpopular opinion to share with all of you. Funerals are not for the departed. Quick history lesson. Ancient Egyptians in 1150 through 1070 BC, they practiced the art of mummification and burying their dead with all their worldly possessions, everything from slaves, pets, even family, under the belief that they would be resurrected. They all wanted to awaken with all the riches and things they held important. In the 8th through 11th century, Viking commoners practiced cremation because they believed smoke would carry their souls to heaven, and that they had elaborate ship burials, including all the worldly possessions, that would honor the wealthy or powerful by setting them sail off to paradise. Even early Christians carried forward the belief that, like Christ, we too would literally rise from our tombs and walk the earth again. And they practiced advanced burial rites to wash and preserve the body for future resurrection. These practices were followed because of the belief that if you cared about your loved ones and their place in the afterlife, that you must perform these rituals as the only way for them to cross over, and they needed to be followed exactly or they would be denied paradise. Well, then came a period of religious persecution, and heathens would desecrate the tombs of the dead, and they were targeting Christians to rob them of their peace and glory in the afterlife. Families were devastated. They believed that their loved ones were now damned to hell or cursed to wander between worlds. The church stepped in to calm the people. They clarified for the grieving masses that what happens to our physical bodies has no bearing on the resurrection during the second coming. God was not making these demands, tradition was. That resurrection is a transformative birth and not a literal raising of our formal bodies from the ground. Christ didn't expect that his second coming was happening a week after his, or even a year or a decade. In the 2,000 plus years that have followed his death, the mortal shells of billions of souls on earth weren't meant to rise together like a cast reunion from The Walking Dead. While we respect our bodies in death, the Bible is clear that the treasure is the soul. God shuffled his feet by the crash test dummies. The people asked God, if your eye is poked out in this life, will it be waiting for you up in heaven with your wife? Over the years, Amanda's had sickness removed from her. As such, we bury her today less than whole. So will Amanda's born-again body also be less than whole? Revelations 21:3. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he will dwell among them. And they shall be his people, and God himself will be among them. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no longer any death, any mourning, crying, or pain, for these are the first things that will have passed away. God will transform our spiritual bodies, and we will all be born anew in a form that no longer suffers from sickness, pain, or death. In Genesis 2:7, we hear, then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. In Genesis 3:19, in the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. Ecclesiastes 12:7, then the dust will return to earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Many of you are more familiar with ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So God tells us that we come from the earth and we will return to the earth. And when he created us, he breathed our spirit into our bodies. When we pass on our spirit, God's breath, it returns to him. There's been an ongoing study since 1907. It's called the 21 grams experiment. It's more informally known as the weight of the soul. It seeks to scientifically measure the exact moment when our souls return to God. Many people of faith desire a firm division between science and religion, but nowhere does it say that science can't exist to explain how his miracles work. If anything, they are complements to his genius and artistry. And here, science even agrees that when we pass on, something leaves the body that can't be accounted for. Amanda left us Thursday morning, approximately around 12:30 a.m. When she left her body behind, she did so knowing she was headed where she was supposed to go and that she was in good hands. And this is why funerals are not for the departed. I want you to consider, Jesus said that God's love is present in all things. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds us together. Okay, confession, that wasn't Jesus, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi, all right? And I know some people get them confused. And yes, I just quoted Star Wars at this funeral. You're welcome. Amanda would have allowed it. While I'm on a roll, I'm going to give you another one. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. That's from Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One. Let's hear old Ben out for a minute. Yes, the Force is a representation in a physical universe. Its mechanics, though, however embellished for fantasy purposes, echo many common themes that we're hearing in God's words. God is not physical. He is spirit, and he exists invisible beyond material limitations. Yet he permeates all things. He makes up all things. I am made of God as much as this building or the air I'm breathing. He brings us power and purpose. He sets the universe in motion, and he enables his will for the universe's continuation. And as such, God is omnipresent. He is everywhere, all at once. Psalm 139, God is both universally present and intimately present. Ephesians 4:6, one God, Father for all, who is over all and through all and in all. Acts 17:28, for in him we live and move and have our being. So let's back up and change one word in those quotes. God surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds us all together. I am one with God, and God is with me. God is also omniscient. He knows all. Psalm 139:6. Our knowledge is limited, but God's knowledge is perfect and boundless. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. Andy's asked me to read some words that he has prepared that he wants Amanda to hear. The grief is running strong in the family right now, and ranging between a simple conversation about lunch to trying to lead a family prayer of thanks, emotional breakdowns that are preventing full sentences is our status quo. My history lesson, my emphasis on the human body, the glorification of God's being, these are all aimed at those of you that are struggling today to find your words during this difficult time. I say these things to emphasize that the jar of clay that is here with us today is just that, an imperfect and empty vessel. The light that was inside has left to join God. Amanda departed that room, leaving it 21 grams lighter. She is one with God, and God is with all of you. And so, knowing that God is everywhere, God knows everything, and Amanda is with God, take comfort that Amanda already knows what is unsaid in your hearts. Andy, you worry about being the one to stand up here because you wanted to ensure that Amanda hears your words, but I promise you, she already knows. She heard them the moment they were written in your heart before you even figured out how to say them in English. Robin, Richard, Jeff, Bonnie, none of you needed to be up here today for her to know, because funerals are not for the departed, they are for those left behind. Today, we have come together to seek comfort and peace, to remember Amanda's love and legacy, to believe in God's promises, and to honor her memory. I close my comments with a prayer, and then I'm going to read Andy's words. From the city of God, we mourn the death of our loved one, and we will miss their physical presence in our lives. But we do not mourn as others who have no hope. Our loved one is with the Lord, conscious in the presence of God, beholding his beauty. And because of the bodily resurrection of Christ, we have confidence that all who are asleep in Christ will be raised again. The day is coming when heaven will come to earth, and we will walk and talk with our loved ones again in new bodies on a new earth, together forever with our King. From Andy. Amanda, I always said that when we first met, I was lost. I was without direction, no substantial goals, and dreams that felt unobtainable. You met me with heartache from those who didn't understand a newly growing sickness and a sense of loneliness that left you seeing no future. Despite those feelings, I brought you laughter with my inability to ever truly be serious and deflect all things with humor, and you answered that with faith and unconditional love. It was like you already knew where you wanted to go and what to do, but just needed someone to stand by you to take those first steps. Ready to build our future, you took my hand, you cut away the brush to show me the path that you wanted to travel. You gave me a new direction, goals we could accomplish together, and new dreams to strive for. It's no secret that you wanted a family from the get-go. I wish I had pulled a home together first, but time was not on our side. You gave me Emily, and she came to us small and early, but strong and beautiful, just like you. While she developed in the NICU for 21 days, you stressed and worried that she would share your illness. But over time, those fears fell aside, and you were able to settle into mommy mode. We waited our second child with excitement, but we were met with heartbreak at the loss of our baby. You blamed yourself, even though you knew you couldn't control what was happening inside of you. You put on a brave face, but even when you shared tears with your family, no one understood how deeply it hurt. Knowing your truth, I felt helpless, unable to free you from your pain. In time, you showed your strength again. You demanded control over your illness, and despite warnings and with a little help, you gave me Jonathan. Seeing your excitement mixed with accomplishment that you were able to bring him into the world safely made me happy. Jonathan also came early, but strong, and he came home the next day. He was a handsome little man indeed. The next few years were taxing. You grew more tired, but you did your best to hide it from everyone. You would only let yourself rest when I was home and no one was around. No one saw just how exhausted you were and how much effort everything was becoming for you. We decided on a change of scenery, and so we set out on a mission to find our own home. And once again, You told me we were expecting and expanding our family. Again, we suffered a loss more devastating than the first. We lost twins. You said you felt like you killed them yourself with your ever failing body, but it was not your fault. It was your body betraying you. I tried my best to comfort you, but it took years before you forgave yourself, although you never fully let it go. We relocated one more time to help us move forward, and you fell in love with our new home. We finally settled down in a place to call our own where you could really relax. We tried our best to make good times, but your internal battles started to rage, and we entered into the hardest chapter of our lives. The lupus grew worse, the hospital stays mounted, yet somehow you kept your head up and your smile on your face. You pushed yourself to every event you could go to through pain and exhaustion. You wanted to make good memories despite it all. During this time, you kept your faith strong. You would light up when you would dive into biblical history and discussion, and soon you had a student in me, and I tried absorbing your teaching even when it was only whispers and mumblings to yourself. I always felt guilty because I often got you off track when I distracted you to ask for clarification. Your passion may have started on your own, but your influence inspired me and shined its light on others too. Your father learned more from you than you were willing to admit. He often said you could run circles around him. You also shined on Emily and Jonathan, lighting a path to follow that only you could provide. Then you found the internet and you reached people far and wide, some less happy about that than others. You'd become a lighthouse, not just for me, but for many. But the lupus remained raging, crashing against the rocks, slowly weathering your foundation and taking its toll. We had lost so much. Time being the biggest thing. Goals canceled, dreams gone. Planning year to year quickly became planning day to day. Trying to do even a little something with the fleeting strength you had left. Emily grew our family more, bringing us Josh, Henry, and Claire. The house is noisy and busy, but I think you liked it that way. You raised smart and resilient children. Amanda, you were stronger than any person I have ever met. You were kind, you were loving, you showed me how to be a better man, a better husband, and a better father. I wish everyone could have met you when I did, to see what I saw, to know you the way I did. Without you here, I promise to watch over the kids. I promise to take better care of myself. I promise that they will have me to lean on as long as I can, so you don't have to worry. Honey, I love you. I will see you soon.
Okay, everybody. I'm Sandra Harkey. I'm Andy's aunt. My husband is Chuck. I need a tissue. Today we gather with heavy hearts to celebrate the life of Amanda Harkey, our precious Amanda. I hope I get through this. A woman whose life was marked by courage, faith, love, and quiet strength. Amanda was so much more than her illness, as you've already heard. Without even realizing it, she challenged every doctor she encountered to think outside the box, to consider not only what was typical in practice, but what was possible. Her life reminded us that determination and hope can coexist even in the most difficult circumstances. From the very beginning, Andy made it clear that the fight for Amanda's life was undeniable. He became her fiercest advocate. Andy didn't need notes. He carried every detail in his heart. He knew every medication. He knew every need. We're going to fix this. He stayed by Amanda's side in the hospital, making sure everyone understood what he understood. From the start, Amanda could trust him completely and unconditionally. And because of that, even though her body was traumatized, her heart was at rest. Andy created a life for Amanda. Wherever she wanted to go, they went. Whether it was to a Georgia Tech game in Alabama, and then to the Renaissance Festival they loved early in their marriage, and especially their honeymoon in the Bahamas. She loved the beach, and Andy made sure she experienced it. They breathed the same breath. They walked the same path and faced every challenge together. Amanda was present for her children, as you've already heard, in every way that mattered deeply. Jonathan, with Andy as your father, you were shown the greatest example of what it looks like for a man to love his wife fully, faithfully, and sacrificially. Your parents showed us that love is not just spoken, but it's lived. Amanda made sure she was there for Jonathan's accomplishments. One unforgettable moment was when Andy rolled Amanda onto the football field in her wheelchair to celebrate you as you played in the band during your senior year. Pictures were taken. It was her way of saying, I see you, and I'm so proud of you. Emily, from the time you were just a baby, Amanda had a special way with you. I saw it. When you cried, she would lean in to whisper in your ear. No one knew what she said, but whatever it was, it always brought calm and peace. Your mother was a woman who never denied herself the right to dream. Even when she could no longer do all the things she wanted, her dreams remained alive. Emily, this is a new chapter in your life, one you did not choose, but embrace the sweet moments that will come because of your mother's love. It goes on with you. Draw on your memories as you make new traditions for your family. Amanda had many quiet joys. For a time, she loved crocheting. It was very special to her, and she became amazingly accomplished. She enjoyed adult coloring, collecting recipes, and treasuring family traditions. One such tradition was the Texas chocolate cake. I think the Dotsons know about that. Bonnie lovingly baked that at Christmas just for Amanda. These small acts of love surrounded her and reminded her that she was cherished. Amanda was a warrior of the Bible. She loved the Lord deeply and loved and lived anchored in His Word. Her faith was steady, real, and lived out daily. To Claire and Henry and all who loved her, you will need each other unconditionally. So unconditionally love and support in the days ahead. And that is exactly what Amanda would have wanted. A family wrapped tightly together, carrying her forward. Andy once said to Amanda, Amanda was his shining light, and he was hers. They were each other's lifeline. Andy's attentiveness, protectiveness, and devotion were beyond measure. We all saw it. He made sure Amanda was comfortable, always safe, and always known. Amanda also had a great sense of humor, a reminder that joy can live alongside suffering. Thank you, Janet, for speaking from your heart and for remembering what Amanda and this family meant to you. Matthew, thank you for being steady, supportive big brother, and a support to Andy in every way. Thank you for standing in for Andy and sharing his words and feelings at such a time when his emotions are too much to bear. Matthew, Andy has always thought of you as smart, aggressive, fearless, a leader who steps out and makes his own way, but never forgetting to support and respect the goodwill and intentions of the core family. And then there's Jeff and Bonnie. Where do I even start? They are the ultimate parents and grandparents. There is no sacrifice too great, no request not honored, no time not shared, no maximum effort not applied, no prayer left unsaid. We all prayed and prayed and prayed. The scope of their combined talents cover any and all things that can happen in life, from teaching, researching, crafting, and cooking, to build a house, to fix any and everything in the house, to maintain and rebuild cars and trucks, and yet always stop long enough to go watch a Georgia football game in Alabama. He spent those times with you. Jeff's passion and knowledge from his own great sports background. Chuck has always said that Jeff was the best natural athlete of the family. We have all greatly benefited from that talent and experience. Who among us have not called on Jeff? Who? To fix something that we had going on. Even if it was a conversation on the phone, he made us visualize it. And this is how it's done. While Chuck and Steve were playing ball and chasing girls, Jeff was actually working with Pops, listening and learning how things work and how to fix them. But all of that is still not the best thing. The most important quality is not what Jeff learned from Pops. It was what he inherited from Pops. Jeff has been blessed with Pops' kindness, gentleness, loyalness, sharing and giving spirit. Jeff has a servant's mentality and has observed one thing above all else: Jeff spent his life watching how Pops loved, honored, and respected and treasured his wife, Mimi. Bonnie is now the beneficiary of that legacy. But there's more. Jeff passed it on to Andy. And we all have seen the patience, love, and dedication and never ending efforts around the clock that Andy has lovingly given to Amanda and his family. That is 3 generations of character and love. It is in the blood, and it is from God. And Suzanne and I both attest to the truth that God has touched the hearts of all the men in this Harkey family and are all so very blessed. The very last big family gathering was for Uncle Steve's birthday in this August, in Sandy Springs. Andy and Amanda somehow knew it was important to be around the whole family. Once again, she seemed to have that premonition and insist on going. She was right. This turned out to be her last large Harkey family gathering. To Andy, Emily, and Jonathan, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that you have lived lives of service and sacrifice, and that Amanda's love has shaped you forever. Her life was shortened, but her life mattered. She had proof that life was not always fair, but her love remained and is still here today and felt. Her faith was challenged, but it stood fast and carried forward to the end. Amanda loved her children and risked her life to have them. Doctors advised her not to even get pregnant with her various serious conditions, but Amanda wanted a family so bad, and she loved babies. This was another thing that Amanda and I bonded on. We both had miscarriages of a single child. After those miscarriages, we both became pregnant with twins. Unfortunately, Amanda miscarried again. But a case could be made that the loss of those twins may have been the regaining of additional strength and time on her life to live and love Andy, Emily, and Jonathan, and even to know her precious grandchildren, Claire and Henry. On the other hand, in my case, we were blessed with a pregnancy with twins. I was healthy and the babies were healthy. We believe that how Chuck and I handled the loss of the miscarriage of our first and naming him, it was a son, and celebrating that life that lived, even for such a short time, proved to God our belief that life begins at conception. God rewarded our faithfulness by replacing imperfection with perfection, and we were blessed with 2 beautiful, healthy daughters, Nixie and Chelsea, who are now 36. Both of them are here today, along with replacing the son we lost with our own amazing son, Chaz. God is so good. Chelsea drove from Nashville to be here, but the family is important. to them as it is with all of the Harkey clan. Now let me tell you a beautiful story of faith applied and love perfected. When our girls were old enough to start reading, my husband's brother, Steve, where's Steve? Steve had a gesture that he taught his boys, and it was this, and it meant, I love you. So I sent that to Steve. Steve brought over a book for us to read to the kids when they were old enough. It was called Hope for the Flowers. It is a parable about life and hope told through the characters of caterpillars and butterflies. The two main caterpillars' names were Stripe and Yellow. As we all entered this world, struggling for identity and purpose, we start by crawling and then climbing, always competing for a place in a godless world, while God tries to claim and recall us back to him. Such was the story of Stripe and Yellow. They crawled and climbed, struggled through life, searching for the meaning and purpose. They all saw many thousands of caterpillars just like them, frustrated with their own limited existence and purpose. Then one day they met a caterpillar who saw life differently and was at peace with his future. He said he would become a butterfly. Yellow asked, "What is a butterfly?" "It is what you are meant to be. It flies with beautiful wings and joins the earth to heaven. It drinks nectar from the flowers and carries seeds of love from one flower to another." Yellow gasped and said, "It can't be true. How can I believe there is a butterfly inside you or me when all I see is a fuzzy worm? How does one become a butterfly?" Yellow asked. Their new mentor said that you must want to fly so much that you are willing to give up being a caterpillar. Yellow asked. "You mean die?" He answered, "Well, yes and no. What looks like you will die, but what's really you will still live. Life is changed, but not taken away. It's the difference from those who die without ever becoming butterflies. Look at the millions of caterpillars who are not willing to die in order to really live. It takes a leap of faith to give up everything you know and have in order to have more, to be all you were meant to be." Yellow was interested, but Stripe was afraid. But one day, Yellow disappeared. Stripe was very sad when all of a sudden a beautiful yellow butterfly appeared. Yes. It seemed to know Stripe, flying closer and closer, affectionately looking at Stripe. He thought, could it be possible? Could it be yellow? And that story they heard was true after all, that you have to die in order to really live. Yellow flew over the tree branch and back to Stripe several times. Now Stripe was sure. He finally believed. Stripe followed in faith. He knew there was more in life than crawling with millions of faithless worms. He crawled. I'm reading ahead of myself so I know what's coming. He crawled over to to a limb and he crawled for his last time. He began to spin a cocoon. He began to understand. Yellow waited and waited. And then it finally happened. Stripe emerged as a beautiful black striped butterfly, ready to fulfill his destiny. Just as Amanda has now done. And may we all, and may all we are and all we do help build a better world that is possible when enough of us stop crawling and climbing over each other and enter the unique cocoon God has prepared for each of us to transition, first by rebirth spiritually, through faith, by grace, and then leave this old body behind and fill the skies with flyers, beautiful butterflies with perfect wings, to replace all our worn, torn, and defective parts and return to our Lord and present ourselves new, perfect, heavenly bodies and fellowship with our Savior for eternity. This is not the end of Amanda, but instead, it's a new beginning. Fly home, Amanda. Meet your Lord face to face. We will join you soon. Andy and the family, thank you all for coming. This has been a special, special time that we've all collected stories just on these last 2 days. And it's been so special that we'll remember and thanks to Amanda. Now, if you will all stand and join me in the Lord's prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Our daily bread, and give us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.